you know, having a growth mindset and being like, you know what, maybe my previously thought ideas or conceived notions aren't accurate, and how can, and it also requires change, and we know people don't like change. They're very resistant. So speaking of change, let's take a look at some of the things that might impact need for carbohydrate with training. So one is going to be like how seasoned of a athlete you are, how much experience you have. So obviously your body has built an adaptation, has gotten used to training, and it can handle training under less than ideal circumstances, as opposed to someone that maybe is a little bit newer to it. Your training intensity and duration, along with like your overall volume. So if you are, say, a powerlifter entering into a hypertrophy block, your coach has decided that they don't like you. And so now you have to do like high volume pin squats at a high bar, God forbid. You're having to do a lot of accessories, and you're like, how am I going to do this? You're going to do it with carbohydrates in your belly, is what you're going to do. Because those, especially those hypertrophy training sessions, are really going to need to have carbohydrates prioritized in your intra, again, if you're doing 90 minutes or more, and in your post, to not only help give you a little bump in energy, but also keep those glycogen stores topped off, and also help kickstart that muscle protein synthesis with your lovely little protein shake that you're going to take after you train. And so that comes into play. And then also your level of leanness. If you are a leaner person, you're not going to have as much glycogen stores, and it's going to get depleted faster. So that is something to consider, that if you're a very lean person, you're going to burn through that a little quicker than someone that's not as lean. So it's just another reason to not be lean. I'm just kidding. You're just more of a liability. Okay. I'm just kidding. Totally kidding, but kind of not. So what were your takeaways? I'm kind of looking at some of the variables that can affect carbohydrates need prioritization.
I mean, to be honest, it was kind of just like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, I could see that on you're doing a harder training session or multiple throughout the week. Your training sessions are just kind of hard, they're high intensity. You're going to need a little bit extra. You're going to need that oomph. And same like if you are a leaner person, I feel like that makes sense for it to be like, oop, okay, I'm done with that. I need something. I need something now, because we ate that a little too far away from training, and now I'm kind of like, because I've done that. Not that I'm so lean that I'm just like going through my carbs, but I've like mistimed my pre-training meal, and that I've really felt that like 30-40 minutes into a training session, and then I happen to not have any sort of like intra carb on me, and I'm like, well, this is fun. I'm not going to have a great rest of my training session.
Yeah, definitely. And it's hard to come back once you hit that wall. It's
Mm-hmm.
really hard to come back. And I still will occasionally hit that in my not paying attention world, where I'm like, I ate breakfast 2 hours ago. I'm fine. And then I'll go start training. And then all of a sudden I hit a wall, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to pass out. Also, I'm going to throw this barbell across my garage and go eat all the Sour Patch Kids in my cupboard. So it's hard to kind of come back from that once you hit that wall. So I think it's good to just, now I try to remind myself, I'm like, even if you're not hungry, you should have at least
Mm-hmm.
like a rice cake, or a little something, because what's going to happen, like especially when you do it for a while and you start to notice, oh, this is what was happening before. Because the more you can give in your training sessions, the better your adaptation, not just from a hypertrophy perspective, but also a strength adaptation, because being able to hit those higher lifts or higher percentages with more gusto is going to not only be better for just your physical adaptation, but also your mental one, at being able to be like, okay, that felt way better than last time. I was able to really hit that last set well, because how many times have we seen like people be like, oof, I dropped the weight on the third or fourth set because I just didn't have it in me. Like it just
Yeah.
started to feel too heavy. And one, obviously, you're like, how long were your rest periods? But then two, was like, hey, getting some carbohydrates in there can be helpful for particularly for something like a deadlift session, which
Hmm.
is so taxing or something like that. Or even our athletes that just like Olympic weightlifters tend to have much longer training sessions. Strongman athletes are doing a combination of needing to run around with crazy high weights and then go push something over their head and hope it doesn't land on their skull. Like there's
Or carrying something around in the most awkward position.
I know me and my like carpal tunnel wrists are like just in pain watching any strongman competition. I just feel my hands going numb and just the weight dropping on my foot. So there's definitely some considerations with that and in terms of what you're doing and it just kind of context there again, because as we kind of mentioned in the beginning, like it might be okay, but is it optimal? Like obviously we say that
Yeah.
so many times, like, hey, you might be able to get through a workout and feel okay, but do you want to feel just okay? Or would you like to get the most out of your session? Have
Yeah.
the best possibility for gaining more muscle mass during that session, having better sustained energy. And like you mentioned, it carries throughout your day because if you get home and you're just like sacked out and you can't interact with like anyone in your household or get anything done because your session just mopped the floor with you, like why wouldn't you want to just like, hey, maybe there's a better way? Not saying like, oh, you'll never be tired after training again, but we
Yeah.
can see such a